Welcome back. Bruce Porter joins us now for this week's Dollars and Cents segment, where he takes a viewer's email and tries to answer their financial question on the air. You ready, Bruce?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Good to see you again. Here we go. All right. How much cash should I keep available versus how much of my overall portfolio should I keep invested? I am retired and concerned about the current economic conditions, lack of interest, and a potential correction. What do you say?
Wow, that's a mouthful. I think the one thing that's important, I am retired. So now that you're retired, I think you got to ask yourself a question. How much risk am I willing to accept? You're done. You're done working, right? I've earned my money. I've saved my money. I've put my money away. Now I want my money to work for me. I want my money to produce for me.
Yes.
So I think to answer this question, there's lots of things to consider on how much money should I keep on hand. Well, how much debt do you have, if any? What's your desire? Do you want to keep 3 months worth of reserves of income, 6 months, a year? That can vary depending on what a person, what their heart says.
Right.
So there's a lot of opinions on that. I think that has to be self-directed. Whatever makes you feel good, that's what you should do. Now, if you're concerned about the market, if you're concerned about interest, if you're concerned about a correction, maybe you shouldn't be associated with that. If it gives you heartburn thinking what might happen, then I think you need to evaluate what are your objectives. And you have to establish that. In order to properly determine where do I want to put my money, the conservative bucket, the medium, or the long term, you got to know what your objective is.
And make sure you can get your hands on that money too, because depending on where you put it, it's just harder to get to.
Right, if you need it. Now, you might have a long-term bucket of money that is feeding your cash management tools in your short-term bucket.
Right.
So if you're leveraging a good rate of return out of a safe, secure, long-term bucket, that's great. If you've got long-term or medium-range money that is giving you heartburn because of a risk or the potential there, then I think you need to reevaluate what are my objectives: safety, growth, income, security, protection. You try to figure out what that is, and that'll help you.
Well, when you're talking about also being retired, is that you know, your own view on this? That would be something that I would say, okay, now's the time to get conservative. You don't take the risk. You take a chance of not being able to recoup your losses at this age.
That's exactly right. Do you have an investment plan, or do you want a retirement plan? An investment plan that we've talked about before, focused on growth. Now that I'm retired, I'm going to be more focused on security, safety, growth, but also future income. I'm going to want something that is going to help support my need of income.
What you said, you want the money to work for you now. As
our cost of living goes up. Cost of living is going to continue to go up. So really, you're retired. Do you really have the stomach for risk or a certain percentage? I don't advocate you put everything in a hole in your backyard, but having an appropriate amount of money in these different buckets is going to be determined by what your objectives are.
Because so many people are worried about literally running out of money.
Absolutely. Number one concern that I hear, I don't want to outlive my money. So what can I do to assure that? Well, then we have to take the appropriate steps to get that done.
And there's a lot of things to consider too. I guess this is when you, and I always go back to this, get out term care and everything else, and you really might want to plan for this before you wind up retired, and that way you'll have a little bit of a plan.
Yeah, hopefully your whole plan's in place before that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a variety of things that you can do. You don't just have to buy insurance or invest in the market or invest in the bank. There's a variety of things that you can do, and a lot of times a little bit of 2 or 3 different things makes it a good overall plan. So it's really determining, what are my objectives? What am I trying to accomplish?
Talk to an expert.